Hello, I'm Pat Cunningham. Welcome to my series of videos explaining equity release. Today I'm going to talk about getting permission from the house occupants to do equity release. Yes, getting the permission of the people who live in the house. I don't own it, but getting their permission for you to do the equity release. Let me explain. Equity release must reflect the ownership status of the property. So if you own the property singularly, then it will be a single equity release scheme, a single lifetime mortgage. If the property is held jointly as joint tenants, Mr. and Mrs. or whatever, then it will be a joint lifetime mortgage. So it must reflect the way the property is held. Now, if you are a couple living together, doesn't matter how long you've been living together, but you are not married, and the house is in one of your names. Let's say the gentleman owns the home in his name, and he's had his partner living there for many years. He would take out the lifetime mortgage in his sole name, but his partner would be required to sign a disclaimer relinquishing all their rights to the property upon the death or the going into long-term care of the plan holder. This would also relate to any occupant of the house over the age of 17 years. They would all need to sign disclaimers relinquishing their rights to the property on the death or the going into long-term care of the plan holder. It's a very important point. So if you are in that situation where you are the single owner of a property and you wish to go for a lifetime mortgage equity release, then you may consider changing the ownership status from single to joint. Doesn't mean you have to get married, but the ownership should be joint if you then want a joint equity release scheme, so that then when the first of the couple dies or goes into long-term care, automatically the survivor has that right to remain in the property. So make sure you speak to your equity release advisor about this and make sure you understand the ramifications of it. Now, you must remember that the equity release scheme absolutely ends definitely on the death or the going into long-term care of the plan holder. There's no ifs and buts. Once it ends, then that mortgage debt is repayable, and the proceeds from that, after all the costs of the lender and all the rest of it, and the cost of selling, the proceeds are then either given to the plan holder if it's not long-term care, or goes to their estate. So, although the occupant has signed a disclaimer, it wouldn't stop them from staying in the property if the mortgage should be paid off shortly after the plan holder dies or goes into care. So if it was to be paid off, then of course the will will come into place, and they could well stay in the property, but that's an arrangement you have to make with your will and last testament. So when you die, of course, the property would need to be sold by your personal representative, generally the executor of the will. Of course, if you went into long-term care, that would be done by your lasting power of attorney. Now, I'll talk about lasting power of attorneys and wills and executors in another video. But it's important to know that this is something you really must consider, is the ownership status of your property. I mentioned joint tenants. I've mentioned that before in other videos. Joint tenancy is the norm in the UK, and there's no problem. If you are tenants in common, that's a different situation. And if you are tenants in common, then again, speak with your equity release advisor, because there's different arrangements for tenants in common rather than joint tenancy. So I think that's about it really, just to make you aware of that, and to make sure that you understand it when you speak to your equity release advisor. Please, as always, hit the subscribe button if you would, so we can make this this series more popular with YouTube and get it out to more people, so we can explain the good bits and the bad bits, warts and all, the whole thing about equity release, so you understand a little bit more about it. There we are. My blog, website is there underneath. Please visit that, and you can contact me through my blog. Please feel free to make any comments below, and I think that just about wraps it up for today. I'll see you next time. Bye.